Hello and welcome to Champion Reviews. I'm Joe. Here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 1,000, and once we get to 1,000, we'll publish a dark fantasy horror novel's first chapter for you. Now, this episode, the Goblins at the Gate, or Goblins at War, is a great episode. This is a near-perfect episode. At the beginning, well, you got the whole time dilation accelerator thing that kind of makes a reappearance, and Spider-Man, well, Peter ends up having to ditch a date with MJ, who finally admits to loving him. The two decide to go steady, and she now realizes that, well, he's got a job to do when he's rushing off out of sight. But first he makes sure she's safe. She tells him to be careful, which it's nice seeing the pair finally start to communicate. And he ends up saving the day, then fails to catch Hobgoblin, who escapes. Then him and MJ are invited to the engagement party of Felicia, where Peter's essentially the plus one for MJ, who's, a supermodel millionaire. So, yeah. Now, that said, Fisk and Jonah both try to get Peter's attention. They want him. Simps. What can I say? Okay. Now, that said, Felicia, though, wants to grab Peter's attention because they're old friends. And apparently they've gotten friendly enough that, she can treat him like a big brother or something to introduce her boyfriend to. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that part was okay, at least she's not trying to sleep with him and break up another couple like she did with Flash and Deborah. I think that by this point in the series, she's pretty much smartened up. Felicia had her wild youth, now she's trying to settle down. That's what this episode really goes a long way to show. And some of the wild youth was funny to see in the first season and a half, but it did get old eventually. Now, that said, meanwhile, Hobgoblin and Fisk are planning to hit a gold repository that belongs to the state. But Fisk first wants the edge over Hobgoblin, so goes to Norman, whom his sanity is starting to crack, to put it mildly. So
what little of it there is.
Yeah. So Norman, who had gotten back in business with Fisk, despite countless attempts by both Fisk and Spider-Man to cut him loose from the business. Yeah, what can I say? He's an idiot. He's dumber than Harry. I'm just saying. At least, come on. It's insanity. Keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Fisk decides to squeeze him for info about Hobby. Norman rushes off home, only for his sanity to at last crack. And Fisk and Hobgoblin go to rob the joint with Fisk's flunkies, going on ahead through the portal that Hobgoblin opens up using the time dilation accelerator. Spider-Man's prepared, takes them down, goes to nab the dilation accelerator. Green Goblin shows up, interrupting the fight. Interrupting the three-way, I guess you could say. Then the Goblins end up squabbling. They escape. Felicia, meanwhile, has been checking up on the mansion for renovation, and discovers the Hobgoblin weapons room. And Jason tells her, well, I can't let you live if you know my dirty little secrets. So, of course, he then goes to try and rape her. I'm just saying. Yeah. Man, this cartoon got dark.
And then Green Goblin
cockblocks Hobgoblin and inadvertently kind of saves Felicia. I'm just saying, he kind of does. Now, what's interesting is that this depiction of Green Goblin is not motivated by petty things like lust. Sorry, but the comic book one and the movie one were both motivated by such thoughts at some point or other. And it always felt a little boring having that. Now, that said, it made sense in the comics for him to want Gwen. I mean, she was sleeping around with what? She slept with the Jackal. She slept with Green Goblin. It was kind of her MO as one of Spider-Man's rogues. I consider her a rogue. She's
nutty. She's nuttier than most of his rogues.
And I always felt that if they revived her, they should have made her the next Green Goblin.
Yeah, that would have been
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
But Norman here in this episode, anyways, Norman captures Felicia and Jason Macendale, who is the Hobgoblin in this universe, and Spider-Man comes to save the day. He defeats Green Goblin, damages the accelerator, only for Green Goblin to still open up a portal and dash through it, not caring if he ends up shredded or in a limbo or whatever, or another dimension where there's no oxygen. He doesn't care. He refuses to be arrested. As for Hobgoblin, he's at last put behind bars and stopped once and for all. And Felicia breaks down crying because, well, honestly, the one man she had truly fallen in love with, like, and I don't consider Michael Morbius love. That was lust. Because you got to bear in mind, he was a sociopath who manipulated her. Spider-Man, it was just a crush. This was actual love on her part, to an extent. And it's just sad. Like, you really feel bad for her. Now, what can we say? We're not going to stretch this review out for too long. Let's rate this. Beautiful.
4.
Okay, 4. Yeah, I have to give it the same. This episode is near perfect. Oh, and it ends with Green Goblin making a comeback and going, "Oh, I'm not out yet," as the portal spits him out, and he goes, "Okay, I nearly died in there." But man, there is so much detail, lore, and oh my gosh, the animation is perfect.
It is hard for any superhero animated series to beat this episode.
Yeah,
And I've seen some
You've seen a lot more superhero cartoons than I have.
Yeah, and
like just
it doesn't even come close to, because this episode, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it.
It closes up the MJ ever cheating on Peter or walking away from him plot. Closes the Felicia plot because she actually approaches Peter and Spider-Man goes, "Would you like to date me?" And he says, "No." And he crushes that ship with extreme prejudice, acting like the man he is. Doing what Aragorn did with Eowyn in Lord of the Rings, telling her in no uncertain terms, that's a no. And I just love this episode. And the action is perfect, except for the minor detail of Fisk trying to crush Spider-Man's spine and Spider-Man struggling there. Because Spider-Man has super strength and Fisk doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like it's the plot is just so perfect. The animation is perfect. I love this episode. This episode is the kind of episode that's just a showcase of, yeah, Justice League, that was a piece of trash. That was Barney or something. That was trash compared to this. Now, I love the Justice League cartoon. But the distance between these two in animation, in art, and in writing are worlds apart.
There's a reason why in one of my deconstructions, Goblins at the Gate was...
I love that storyline from the comics I almost cussed there so freaking much. And they actually did it, no offense, better than the comics. I love the comic book version, but this one did it better.
Hell, this even blows the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix sagas.
Yeah. And I love those. Although the cartoon did not manage to fully do it justice, no offense.
None taken. It was good.
But the Dark Phoenix saga should be great, not good. And the problem is the cartoon one died with a whimper.
Yeah.
Whereas the comic book one was this sweeping epic. Although the comic book one did have a few problems, like Phoenix starts threatening the Earth, Spider-Man totally should show up. But if you consider the X-Men in their own pocket dimension, or not pocket dimension, but their own universe, then it works. But the thing is, yeah. Anyways, this episode's perfect. So tell us what you think of it. Like the video if you liked it. Share and subscribe once again. Trying to get to 1,000. Once we do, we'll publish that first chapter for you. And, well, I guess as Zordon would put it, may the power protect you.